Good morning. Celeste Cuffey here of Life Empowered Consulting Services, where our mission is to reach, empower, and motivate others to access and utilize their God-given talents and skills, building better families, companies, and communities worldwide. I am so excited to be here as your host as we go through a three-part series, Career Planning and Preparation. Now, as you can see, it is broken up into three parts: the career planning part, the resume writing part, and then the interviewing skills part. Today, or in this session, we will be focused specifically on career planning. This is the agenda for today. We're going to talk about strategies to identify your career path. We're going to talk about career building tips as well as career changing tips. I know that this session will be amazing and impactful. So get your pen, get your paper, and let's get ready to go. Now, a little bit about me. I have been in Life Empowered. I've been serving Life Empowered for about 8 years now. And our overall theme or premise is three main tenets, which is to embrace, to empower, and to elevate. Now, what you see here is a series of offerings that I have in addition to some books that I've published myself. I do encourage you, if you've not gotten any of them as of yet, to get all of them. However, I do specifically encourage you to get The Risk to Be Great. This is a book that really speaks to you as present and future leaders and relationship building, not only with others, but getting to know and building a better you. So this is definitely a personal and professional development journey. Now, let's just go ahead and get started. When we talk about the ways in which to help you define your career path, there are four main ways that we're going to discuss. And this is one of them: assessments. You know, truthfully, there are a lot of people who have not taken the time to get to know themselves. As I said earlier, and life has been happening. You've been busy trying to meet the needs, the wants, the desires of everyone else around you, in your circle, and sometimes that takes a toll on you. And so if you need a little bit of assistance, I do encourage you to just take a moment, stop, and do an assessment. Now, I have heard that assessments can be dishonest, and people frankly lie on their own assessments, but you have to understand that these assessments are for you. So if you're going to lie to anybody, I would encourage you not to lie to anybody, but especially not lie to yourself. And so here you see two specific assessments that I'd like to just call out. I think that these are great tools. There are many others out there, but I wanted to just focus on these two. Now, when you think about DISC is really a prescriptive and a descriptive tool that helps you better understand yourself, others, and the various behaviors that come up in interpersonal situations. So this is, what is your behavior style? What do you like? How does that work with others? And how can others work with you? Now, in contrast, Clifton Strengths Finders, that is really a profiling tool that measures your raw talents and strengths. So please understand that these are very different assessments. They are apples to oranges, and that is why I wanted to share both of them with you, because Strengths Finders really pulls into um, the raw talents of you. What are your natural strengths and how can you develop them? So again, when we're trying to figure out what our next career path is, let's understand our style, which is what you would do with DISC, and then let's understand our strengths, which is what you would do with Strengths Finders. Now, while I say that, I want to also go on to say that um, Marcus Buckingham took it a step further and created this Standout. Now, this is kind of a piggyback on the Strengths Finders assessment. However, it also does clearly relate and articulate specific types of job roles in which you would thrive in. And as a matter of fact, you will see the link down at the bottom here. He is actually giving away free assessments. So I would encourage you, Absolutely free. It will not cost you anything but a little bit of time to take this assessment, and it will give you recommendations. So, the first way, again, to figure out what your next path would be career wise would be to take an assessment. The second path would be, as I call, simply running the numbers. Now, what you're looking at here are the most highly sought after positions nationally. The average salaries are not that bad either. But when you're considering career choices, one of the considerations that you have to make is one, whether or not there's a demand for that position. Two, does those positions pay? And so what you see in the middle column is the number of projected jobs between 2018 through 2028, and then the median or the average salary. And so take this in consideration as you're trying to decide um, what position, what career path do you want to take? And I would almost say take this even a step further, meaning think about the kind of house that you want to live in. Think about the kind of um, car that you want to drive. Think about the kind of amenities do you like. Um, and let all of those things help you inform your decision. And so what you see here again is, kind of the calculation, the standard calculation. You shouldn't spend more than 35% of your income on a house. You shouldn't spend more than 15% of your income on transportation. And so when you go back to the page before and you see that salaries, average salaries, break out those things and see where you land. And see, based on the type of car that you want to drive, are you exceeding your transportation goals? These are, this is a very simple, quantifiable way. And yes, it's not perfect, but it gives you a good ballpark of what you'll need to do in order to live the kind of life that you want to live. So, again, that is the second way to identify whether or not or which career path you decide you'd like to take. Simply looking at the salaries. The third way, I've heard TD Jakes say before that if you cannot figure out your purpose, figure out your passion. And so, with this, there are a couple of things that I'd like to ask you to think about. If there was one thing that you love to do, even if it was for absolutely free, what would it be? What do you love to do? And I actually heard someone um, describe passion and purpose in a unique sort of way, and I want to offer that to you as well. And what they said is that the passion is for you and purpose is for others. And so when you think about your passion, that's what makes you get up every day. What are you doing that will pull you into doing that thing, even if it was for free? And then your purpose, how is that serving others? Now take the answer to this question of what would you do for free. Think about it carefully and then see where the career is that fits into that. Maybe you love um, fixing things. That could be a construction worker, that could be a plumber, electrician, or it could be a doctor. You get to make that choice. And then, as you begin to roll back into the careers, then you start asking those other questions. Is there a demand for that career? What about the salary? Um, is there an opportunity for you to tap in today? What do you need to jump into that arena should you decide that that's the path that you want to go? So again, the third way to help identify what your career path is to look at your passion. Now, the fourth and final way is to simply look at your own experiences. Pull out your resume. And even if you do not have a specific job framed resume, make a list. Grab a piece of paper and grab a list of all the things that you've done that you felt really good about. Make a list of 20, make a list of 100 of all the things that you're really proud of that you've done, all the major accomplishments, the successes, and then break that down. What did you enjoy most about those positions? And then see if there's a opportunity to grow from there, to go from there. The bottom line, the goal is that you want to work or operate in a position that will make you happy. Now, as I say that, please understand that is a little loaded, and I understand that. And this is why. Because whatever the decision is for the job that you choose, please know that no one enjoys absolutely every part of their job. And if they say they do, they're lying. And again, I said earlier, don't lie to yourself. So I like to live by the 80-20 or the 90-10. But give your room grace for parts of the job that you simply are not going to love. So when I say 80-20 or 90-10, I mean that 80% of the job I love, 20% I don't. 90% of the job I love, 10% I don't. Whatever your criteria is, give yourself room to not enjoy some parts of it. And so these were the 4 tips um, that I shared with you, the 4 ways rather, to help you decide what your career path will be. One was taking the assessment. 2 was running the numbers. 3 was allow your passions to be your guide. And 4 was allowing your experiences to be your stepping stone and tapping into that and growing from there. So choosing any one of these paths or even a combination, you can't go wrong. You will get to your goal of success. Now, I will also share with you, I'm a huge, huge advocate for education. And education doesn't always have to be in the traditional 4-year, 8-year programming, but I am still an advocate for learning and growing. And so what you see here is just median salaries based purely on education, levels of education and attainment. And I believe these are 2018 or 2019 numbers. I just pulled them. You will see the stats, again, the link at the bottom or the website where you can access and verify and validate this information yourself. But please understand that based on your education, it does kind of speak to a little bit of your average salary. Now, again, this is not absolute, but this is very high probability, and this is just something that you have to look at and wrestle with within yourself of, will I go back to school for a certificate? Will I go back to school for another degree? And why? And go from there. And interestingly enough, I often look at the professional degree versus the doctoral degree. And you see there's such a small difference. And I just call this out because personally, I struggle with whether or not I'm going to go back for my doctorate degree. I do have a master's degree, and it is focused in management, leadership rather, as well as finance. And so I struggle with that, but I haven't come up with an answer. So I've not done anything with it. Because again, um, I'm still looking for what makes me happy. And quite frankly, um, yeah, you just have to make that decision for yourself. And so that's not something that um, I would not make that decision lightly, but nevertheless, please, from the context of this particular slide, understand that education does equate to um, salary adjustments, differences in your salary. So now let's talk about some career building tips. We've walked through kind of the 4 ways to help you decide what path you want to go. And then we also went through the value of education, and you can see dollar for dollar the impact of that. And so now, what you want to see here, or what I'm showing you here, are just some tips in how to build your career. Now, I'm not going to walk through all of these, you have them up, but I do want to cover two of them. The first one that I want to cover is on the left side, and it's number 9, and it says build relationships with the right people. There is so much value in relationships. I have to just call it out that you have to look for people that can that you can add value to, and that you can add value to them. Simple as that. So make sure that you are building relationships, and that's what I mean by the right people. And this is not just for your career, but this is also just for your personal development as a whole. Who are you spending your time with? Who are you learning from? Who are you growing from? As a matter of fact, in the book that I wrote, The Risk to Be Great, I actually talk about 3 types of people that you need to be around, or you need to understand who they are. And yeah, you need to be around them, and you need to serve in that capacity for them as well. Those 3 people are called, are committed, and they're complementary, but you need to understand that. The other tip that I want to highlight here is know your value even when you don't feel valuable. I think that um, this is very important, and this is immediately to the right, number 9 as well. But this is just critical for us to be aware of, um, and know, because sometimes we don't feel like it. We don't feel valuable. I've been through 2 layoffs in my career, and I know, um, I went through the whole process of why me, why not them, that whole thing. Was I so indispensable that they could just let me go and think nothing of it? Those are real emotions that I had to grapple with, and so you have to know your value even when you don't feel valuable. And I think the other part of that is you can't allow other people to define your value. Okay. So I'm going to say that again. Do not allow others to define your value. And so these are the career building tips I'd like for you to make sure that you take a look at them. You kind of allow them to just really resonate on the inside of you. Deal with yourself on all of them. What am I really interested in? What am I really good at? That's subject matter expert. What have I done very well? That's documenting your successes. Becoming a life learner. What else can I learn? What have I learned recently in the last 6 months, in the last year? What else would I like to learn? That's becoming a life learner. How else can I contribute? That's generating new ideas and sharing them. Are you communicating those new ideas? Be approachable while being productive. So these are, again, just some career building tips. And again, I am here, so do not hesitate to reach out with questions, www.celestecoffee.com, or my email address directly is LECS, which is Life Empowered Consulting Services, at celestecoffee.com. And then we're going to go into some career changing tips. Perform a self assessment. Now, this assessment isn't like the assessments we talked about earlier. This is an assessment of um, what do I want to do? What am I good at? And what do I want to do? And then you go on to understand the skills needed for that new career. Well, if I really want to be a doctor, what do I need for that role? What are the obstacles? Is the fact that I need to go back to school 4 more years an obstacle? Is it a barrier, or is it a bridge to achieving my goal? Deal with your obstacles. Commit to proactive self-development. And that means don't wait for anyone else to force you into whatever your change is going to be. You commit to doing that yourself. Invest in yourself and your new career. What else do I need to learn around this craft? Create your current career as a stepping stone. So what things can I learn in here? What can I learn in this role that will help me for my next role? Utilize your relationships and networks. Again, I cannot express to you the value of relationships. And then be prepared and even embrace failure. That does happen. And failure is not final. It's just, it didn't work this time. And I think that it's important that we understand that. It just means that this particular event didn't work. This particular situation did not go the way that we hoped it would work or we hoped it would go, but it's not final. That just means we need to try again differently. We have to make sure that we walk away with a different definition of failure, because failure is not final. So thank you so much for spending time with me this morning. We have just finished up part one of career planning, of the three-part series of career planning and preparation. My name is Celeste Coffey, Life Empowered Consulting Services, and I am your host for this session. If you have questions, concerns, you would like to reach out, please do not hesitate. My website, www.celestecoffey.com. My email address, lecs@celestecoffee.com. Thank you so much again. And remember to live life empowered. Take care. Goodbye.